ADAS basis components, which are user interfaces and components that you can use to develop JSF applications typically, or other types of visual interfaces. So how many, just so I can try to tailor this a little bit, how many of you are completely brand new to JSF development? Okay. All right. Are there any of you who are developing with JSP or Stress today? Okay. JSP. Okay. All right. So I'm not prepared to give the entire history of JSF, but I will try to explain this at least in JSP terms. And actually, one of the things that's great about these components is that the way that you work with them is much more like 4GL style of development, where you don't necessarily care about how the component is implemented technology-wise. You just need to know what its features are, how it can display data, or how it can help the user to enter data. So I'll take you down a little bit of the geeky road of what ADAS means. When people say ADAS, or when you see ADAS articles, what's inside there, I'll talk about that a little bit, and then I'll show you an easier way that you can utilize the same types of technology. Okay? And I have many demos for you in this presentation, so I have to stay on task, so maybe you guys can help me with that. How many of you have wasted a weekend with Google Earth? Okay. If you haven't, I highly recommend wasting a weekend. Maybe a good hot one. So Google Earth is an example of a Web 2.0 user interface, as are the examples here: Google Analytics, Google Mail, and Google Maps, or Yahoo Mail shown here. What I mean by Web 2.0 is I mean a highly interactive user interface, where I can drag this separator component on the page of my browser, right? I don't have a Java applet installed. I'm just using my thin browser, right? The browser that we used to think of as being pretty thin has gotten actually pretty thick. There's a lot of additional capabilities that we're taking advantage of there. So there's things like JavaScript and this thing called XML HTTP requests. All one word. So you can check that. XML HTTP requests. Another Web 2.0 type of example is if you're filling out, or a benefit of it is that if you are filling out a form, say, for a new user registration, and you get down to the bottom of the form, and you click submit, and then the page goes blank, and you have the click and wait scenario, right, where you have to wait for information to come back, and you find out that lo and behold, the registration name that you chose has already been taken. Well, that's all the way up in the beginning of the page, right? They could have told you that 5.5 minutes ago. And so that's the benefit that Web 2.0 gives you. You get this more interactive type of scenario where if you're filling in your name, you tap out of that input text field for registration name, and you get some type of a visual indicator that says, hey, that's where it's taken. Now, obviously there's some processing costs involved there, but we are taking advantage of the additional features of the browser, and that's where all of this Web 2.0 phenomenon comes from. In the Google Maps example, we're not going to wait for 200 meg files to download, or upload rather. We're going to just provide sections of it so that we can move around the map depending on the viewpoint of the map. We can display the appropriate sections. Okay? So ADAS is not just a cleaning product, right? You know that? Okay. So you have heard of it, and it stands for asynchronous Java and XML. And there's some debate as to whether it's in all caps or not. We've decided, I don't know, 6 of us on my team have decided that we're going to spell it like this. But ADAS is not necessarily a product, and that's the important thing to know. It is a set of technologies that can be used together, and it is this kind of community-created acronym. So it uses this XML HTTP request object to asynchronously talk to a backend server, and this can't actually be a synchronous request, but for ADAS, there's an A in there, right? We're using an asynchronous request, and what that means is that the browser is not going to hang or quit processing until it receives a response from the server, right? So when you are on Google Earth and you scroll to a new area, until that server object is done reloading your map and bringing everything into focus, right, it's not going to stop that request on the browser side. It's important to note that AJAX is not bound to a specific language, and it could be, you could build AJAX applications using Java, or you could use .NET or PHP. We will obviously not touch anything with Java here. Standard. Okay, so here's the hard way to do things. This is where we're taking a little diversion down to the inner workings of AJAX. What we're doing on this first conditional statement here is we're looking for the product, the browser family that we're working with. So are we in Firefox or IE or? And then we're getting that XML HTTP request object. And then we're doing some processing with it. The first thing is we're opening up a connection. So we're